Hey, everybody. Okay, it's the end of January. We got 2 more days, one more day, but we're going to call it 1.5, rounding up. And tonight we are chatting about sowing seeds, and this is a powwow. It's kind of like a power hour, kind of like a training. It's a powwow. And so I want to encourage you to be messaging while we are chatting here, because this is a powwow and we're here to share ideas with each other. And if you have, and again, sowing seeds, if you saw me promoting this call, sowing seeds is about starting conversations. It's about those initial reach outs. We all know that the fortune really is in the follow-up. So it is important to be touching back on old conversations. It's important to be touching on people that already buy from you or who bought from you in the past. But the primary thing I want to discuss with us tonight is new initial reach outs, the idea of sowing and scattering lots and lots of new seeds. So I know that my team has been blitzing out lots of new reach outs for this last magic week of this month. And hopefully at least some of you on Megan's team are in the midst of doing the same, lots of new contacts. So I first of all want to encourage you to be popping things in the chat if you have done a reach out, started a conversation about Plexus this week, and it seemed to go well. We would love for you to share that example in the chat. I have several people from my team who are going to unmute and share tonight. So I just want lots and lots of ideas out there as we go. But as we start, we are going to have a couple of theme scriptures. The first one, 2 Corinthians 9:6-7. For this I say, he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Now, this is not a guarantee. It doesn't mean that if you sow a lot of seeds, they're all going to blossom into a harvest. But here is the guarantee. If you sow sparingly, you cannot possibly reap bountifully. So we've got to be sowing lots of seeds. And then the second scripture, James 2:14. Faith without works is dead. What does it profit if someone says they believe but does not act on it? Obviously, that scripture has to do with believing in Jesus and obeying Jesus, but think about it in terms of anything. We talk about this company, this business, and how you have to believe in what you are sharing, and you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in these products. You have to believe in this opportunity. But what does it profit a man if you believe and you do not act on it? Faith without works is dead, and that goes for anything you believe in. If you do not act on what you believe, what kind of belief is that? And that's why this is an action call. So I have a couple of tips. I have a couple of examples I'm going to share. My team has a couple examples they're going to share. The first thing, though, that I want to make sure you take away is these are not scripts. Scripts are going to make you sound like an AI. They're going to make you sound like a robot. They're not going to be very authentic. And I remember this early on in my journey, how sometimes I would have a post that was like, I sounded like a Southern belle and I was saying y'all all the time, or other times I had like randomly all caps and way more emojis than I usually use. Those are telltale signs that all of this content is not coming from myself. So my encouragement now is I want you to take from tonight sound bites. I want you to take bits and pieces that you can incorporate into your conversations in a natural way, but you don't have to take and copy paste the things that we are saying tonight, okay? Moving on. So I want to kind of, this really kind of piggybacks well off of our Bob Heilig training from this last week. He talked about transformational content, and he talked about authentic conversations. And so a key thing that I am always aware of when I am starting conversations is, how do I disarm someone's alarm bells? How do I make someone feel safe responding to me? Megan, this reminds me of your How to Win Friends and Influence People call. How do I get a yes, yes? Probably not going to get a yes, yes if I say, hey, you want to buy an ultimate weight loss pack as my first initial reach out, right? So my goal when I am knocking on the door is to get the door to open and get the person to feel comfortable with the fact that I'm standing there on the other side and get them comfortable with having a conversation with me. The old Big Al Schreider phrase is, or no, this is Presley Swaggerty from Millionaire by Halftime. He says, the invitation is not the presentation. So tip number one for me is, are you trying to launch into any kind of a presentation when you are doing the invitation? That's something we need to just slow way the heck down, right? Okay, so that's tip number one for me. Tip number two for me is, what do I say that helps resonate with their pain points? What do I say that helps show them that what I have solves their pain points and gives them what they really want? So when I go into some of my examples, we'll talk about that more. People don't make their decisions based on information. They make their decisions based on you and if they trust you. People don't make their decisions based on information. They make their decisions based on you and if they trust you. And they make a decision about if they trust you in the first few sentences, in the first few moments of talking with you. So how do we take that information and utilize it? Well, one of the big ways is we mash that microphone and we send a voice message. Okay. And big tip takeaway from me is smile while you voice message, because you can hear the difference. If you're listening to me on an earbud right now, you can hear that I'm smiling while I'm talking. And that's true on a voice message, right? So number one thing, this is honestly maybe not the smartest part of our brain, but our brain really is programmed to trust somebody who is smiling at us. And that's true, like even from infancy. So know that information and do something with it, right? But smile while you voice message, mash that microphone down and talk. And thinking about how we can build rapport and trust. Okay, so we're going to hear some message examples. I'll give my two, and then we're going to hear some from Ashley, Julia, and Bonnie sent me one that I'll read. She couldn't be on the call tonight. And then I have a couple of examples for posting that help accomplish this too, okay? So I'm going to share mine. Hey, my sweet friend Jenna is sharing her story online tomorrow night. She's super nervous, but I told her she's going to do amazing. I would love for you to pop on and listen with me. What do you say? So let me pull a few threads out of this. Number one, it's very short. Number two, it ends in a question. Number three, I'm showing vulnerability. I'm not even showing vulnerability on my own behalf. I'm showing it on behalf of my friend who's sharing her testimony, right? But I am saying she's super nervous, but I told her she's going to do amazing. I'd love for you to pop on and listen. What do you say? Okay, so those are some common threads. 9 years in this business, I'm always trying to look for ways to show vulnerability, make it sound like the opposite of what they're getting in their inbox from every other network marketer, which is usually a presentation, not an invitation. So I'm usually trying to make sure it's very conversational, invitational, casual, short, and vulnerable, but not apologetic. So big, big difference between vulnerable and apologetic. Some key things I watch out for so as not to sound apologetic. I don't like to say things like, hey, no pressure, but, or, hey, I don't want to bug you, but I wanted to check in, follow up. And I don't like to use the word just. It's a personal little radar for me that it sounds a little bit apologetic and it just kind of sends the vibe. I see Gina nodding. So for example, Gina, if I'm following up with you and I say, hey girl, checking in on you, or I say, hey girl, just checking in on you, there's a hint of apologetic with the just. And so there's nothing wrong with it. Like people have gotten to diamond using that word in all of their conversations. But for me, it helps me move out of apologetic mode. It helps me not speak over the situation and send an uncomfortable vibe to the other person. So here is kind of what I say instead. Here's a second example from me. Hey, would you be open to me sharing a little bit with you about Plexus? It may or may not be for you, but I can't even count the ways it has blessed me. And I just feel so pulled to ask you if you've ever considered it. Okay, so instead of saying, hey, no pressure, like you can totally tell me no, I say, it may or may not be for you. I do give them an out, right? Disarm, like, hey, this totally may not be for you, may or may not be for you. I certainly am not desperate for your business. But I can't even count the ways this has blessed me. And sometimes right there, I'll go into a few details because I always want to resonate with their pain points. So I might say, I can't even count the ways it's blessed me. Oh my gosh, everything from being able to poop when I'm on vacation to, not feeling bloated over holiday breaks to finally having freedom when it comes to body image and, being a slave to sugar cravings. So I'm going to speak to a few pain points in there because I'm trying to pull on whatever string they go, oh, that's me. I've had that thought. So that's kind of what I say to keep from being apologetic. I want to read a couple more examples before we flip over to some of my team. So here are some Emily Gibson's from Ignite Week, right? She says, keep bringing them back around to what they really want. So for instance, now this is for later in the conversation, not necessarily that initial follow-up, but it goes for when we're posting, it goes for when we're first reaching out, and it goes for the follow-up, is that our focus needs to be on what thought is causing you pain, what symptoms are causing you pain, and what's going to get you what you really want. So her real bold, let me ask you this. You said that you wanted to get blank results with this. If I could guarantee that you would be able to get exactly what you want with this, would it be worth it to you to get started today? And so a lot of this, guys, is we're having to water and cultivate these seeds and usher them along toward blooming. Keep them focused on what they really want, and that ordering your package or doing this biz with you is how they get it. They're going to continue. If you want them to continue giving their excuses, you want them to open up and speak frankly with you. And you can continue showing them examples of when they've given themselves permission to do things in the past. Look for ways to show them they've had success before in other things, and this is no different. Listen for the objections, but don't agree with them. Listen for the objections, but don't believe them. And then I thought Amber Miller gave a really great tip today too. So I'm going to read that one. And again, if y'all can be popping stuff in the comments, I will read that. I'll read some of that out loud. Here is what Amber said. Okay. Imagine a curious, open person on the other end of the screen. Give the answers to the questions they might have. Give them what you needed to hear to give you the inspiration to take the next step. So when you're starting a conversation, when you're knocking at the door, don't have a posture of believing that the person on the receiving end is annoyed, or the person on the receiving end doesn't want to talk to you, or doesn't need or want what you have. Leave that ball in their court. But in order to protect your mind and get you in a good place to go out and do some blessing, imagine a curious, open person on the receiving end. Think about the questions they might have. Think about the thoughts they might be thinking about what you needed to hear to give you the inspiration to take the next step. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. Ashley, can you unmute? So proud of this girl, you guys. I just have to shout her out for a minute. She hosted her second event on Thursday. She had 2 people come. One of them ordered. The other one is going to bring a friend the next time. And she had a super cool praise report to share with me today about an initial reach out that she did. So I don't know if that's what you plan to share. Share whatever you plan to share, but share that too.
So actually that was going to be what I planned to share, just because it was one of the ways that I just cold reach out to people, and I hate using that, but for lack of a better term. Also, I'm really sorry. I'm in my car because I'm at work and I can't video inside. So, um, so I just reached out to a girl that I knew way back in the day and literally was just like, Casey, oh my gosh, it's been forever. I have absolutely no idea how you've been, but let me just tell you, like, I was just struggling, and I like named a few things that Plexus has really helped me with. And I know a lot of different people that struggle with the same thing. So like sugar cravings and portion control and energy and just all of that. So I just like name a few little things and I tell them like these are just to name a few. I have absolutely no idea if you have even seen any of my posts, but have you ever considered trying these for yourself? And so I just like leave it open. Um and so yeah, that's how I did that with her and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I've been researching gut health, but I had no idea where to start." So, we're getting her started.
I love it. And when you messaged me today, you were like, you start with me. And I was like, that's it,
Yes.
girl. Like that is the energy right there. Awesome. Okay, Julia, first of all, Ashley, did you have anything else you wanted to share?
I don't think so. I think that was the main takeaway.
Okay, Julia, let me kick it over to you, sister.
There we go. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of my reach outs have been, I've been adding myself into more groups and trying to really broaden my spectrum of customer base. And I'm always surprised at how many people will post questions in groups that are related to health. It just seems random to me, and I don't know, but I'm always like, I'm glad they do because then that gives me an opportunity to message them. But the last gal that she asked about insulin resistance. And of course, we all know that blood sugar has a big to do and insulin has to do with the gut. And so I messaged her and just said, hey, I know we connected in the group and I would love to chat a little bit more with you about the insulin resistance. I have actually found that that is something that I can help with gut health. And I don't know if you've ever thought about using that as trying to help your gut as well, or your insulin resistance as well. But this is something that I have found that works well for me. And she actually sent me a message back, and I didn't end with the question, which I was like, after a while, and it took a couple days for her to message back, I was like, I should have ended with a question. But she actually did message me back. And so we actually got a conversation going, talking about insulin resistance and gut health. So that was encouraging. But most of the time, what I have found has worked best for me is really trying to connect with them personally and saying, it's most of the time, obviously, people that we know, right? We're building those relationships before we are kind of following them. We're friends with them. We've had conversation with them before. And so I will send them a message and say, hey, we're hosting an event tonight going over gut health. I know you and I have had this conversation before. I'm curious if you'd like to listen in and tell me what you find that you learned that you didn't know before. And I like to do that because I feel like a lot of people kind of get to where they do their own research, but I always feel like we can always focus on learning more. And I try to utilize that as an opportunity to help encourage them to know that that I'm not like the only one that knows anything, right? I'm trying to show that respect, but also to say, we could always learn more and there's a lot to still be learned. So those are my things. I've been really trying to connect a little bit more with people in the sense of just digging in and finding their pages and kind of finding questions that maybe they post on their pages that are health related. But that's what.
Quick question from the chat was with the groups that have a lot of regulations about cold messaging people within the group, what's your strategy? Are you becoming friends and building relationship?
So yes, so that one in particular, she started to share a lot of stuff on her post when I responded to her because I just initially responded. I tend to find a lot of insulin resistance has helped with addressing your gut health. And she responded and said, tell me more. And so I just sent her a message and I said, I don't want to get too personal on here because it's a public place. Would you like for me to message you directly, or would you like for me to go ahead and put it in the chat? I give them the option because I'm like, I'm happy to converse over this, but I feel like sometimes you get into privacy issues. And I know that's probably more so something I think of as a nurse, just like in my head, I'm always thinking of HIPAA.
Yeah, right.
So, but that is something I typically will ask them if they want me to message them. So,
Thank you. And Cassie shared something in the chat that I wanted to say on the recording too, which is to always substitute the word open for interested. So, I wondered if you would be interested in hearing my story. I wondered if you'd be interested in hearing a little bit more about these products I love, to switch that around to open. So thank you for that tip. Tara shared in the chat that she's revamping the 20 messages a day challenge. Tara, do you want to say anything about that?
Hey guys. Yeah, so with this whole Bob Heilig thing that we were watching the other day and with his, authentic outreaches and all that stuff, I was like, you know what? I haven't done a lot of messages. Like I'll message here and there, or people that comment on my posts, or like send the happy birthdays. But I'm like, I had a lot of traction when I was doing the 20 messages a day when we were doing that whole thing last year. I got a lot of traction and a lot of new people checking out my profile. So I just started doing that again today, and I was sending something as simple as like, hey, it's so and so, it's been such a long time. How have you been? Happy New Year. Tell me all the things. Like, what are you up to lately? And I've gotten a ton of responses. And I don't mention Plexus. I don't mention anything. Just, how have you been? What have you been up to? And that way it just gets them in my algorithm too. So they're gonna see my post because I post about Plexus all the time. Let's be serious. But at least I'm not forcing them to look.
Yeah.
So that's what I.
And on the topic of like, sometimes I think we can kind of get stuck in the spin cycle. Like I completely agree with like reaching out and not mentioning Plexus. There's a huge place for it. But I also think there are sometimes people who are like completely just avoiding ripping off the Band-Aid, and break the ice and mention Plexus. So I really liked what Bob Heilig said, and I used it today. I was chatting with a girl, not about Plexus, and she started to open up about some health issues. And so I said, what are you doing for your blood sugar regulation? What are you doing for your gut health? And that was my in. And that was when, when she shared what she was doing, I was like, oh my gosh, well, it sounds like everything you want could probably, we could cover all the bases with this Ultimate Weight Loss Pack. And we just launched right into talking about it. So if that helps anyone out there.
And a lot of it too, you guys, that people know what you're doing. Like everyone that's friends with you know that you're their Plexus person. So even the people that have responded to me, they're like, hey, doing so great. I love to see all your Plexus stuff and how you're doing, like you're killing it, blah, 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 blah. I'm not even mentioning it, but they see what I do and how passionate I am about it. So 9 times out of 10, they're going to bring it up and I don't even have to. So
that is if you are pairing good marketing with good outreach.
Yeah. And being consistent.
Yeah. Because a lot of us want people to just come to us, or we want them to bring it up, but that only happens when you're pairing it with good marketing, good, passionate, bold marketing. I did want to speaking of that, I wanted to get to that. It's a little tricky because Megan, you're hosting and recording, but I had 2 team members post this week, really with big takeaways from Bob Heilig. So Megan, is there a way that we can screen share, can you make me host real quick? Let me see if we can do that. I'm actually you. I'm logged in as you, so I don't know how that's possible.
I think the only thing that might mess that up, depending on where she's recording it, is it might stop the recording, where it's going. I'm not for sure.
Let's just see, because we'll send it back. I'm the host now. So let me see if I can screen share with y'all just real quick. Can y'all see my screen? Sweet. Okay. So I wanted to show you 2 examples of this Bob Heilig, transformational posting. Yeah. And I did not have it prepared, so you're going to be looking with me. The first one comes from my friend Lisa here. She sent me an example. me get all this out of here. She sent me a text of what she was thinking of posting, and I worked with her on it to get to this point that I'm about to show y'all here. But the questions I asked her were, what are the things in life right now that have you feeling like you're struggling? And she named what they were, and I was like, okay, how are we going to connect with someone in your audience who says that is how I feel, and I'm fed up? And I also told her, I haven't seen a lot of you on your profile lately. I've seen a lot of, everything but you. So she posted this pic. I was so proud of her because it was late at night. She wasn't all fancy or made up. But look at her engagement, guys. Like 18 likes, 5 comments. And this is what we came up with. The last 3 months have literally crushed me. Anyone else feel this way? For me, it's shown out as tired, emotionally drained, and unmotivated. You two, let's be friends. I'm serious about taking better care of myself this year because let's be honest, some of the circumstances are totally out of my control, but I can control what I eat, what time I go to bed, how much mindless scrolling I do, and who I surround myself with. So here's my plan. And she lined out her supplements, her resets, her goals. I feel like this is really doable and not too out there, but will still make such a huge difference. What would you keep, subtract, or add from your own list? And so a big thing that Bob Heilig was saying is that we're not trying to make the sale in our post, right? We're trying to connect. We're trying to help transform. So this is what we came up with, and it got a fabulous amount of engagement and gave her a lot of names that she could start an authentic conversation with. And then I'm going to hop over to Taylor Grant. She shared this example with me today, and she shared it with me and said, someone messaged her right after this and said, okay, this post hit home. So picture of her and her baby girl. Okay, hear me out. Once upon a time, I was consistently constipated, dealt with gas pains and bloating, and that's not a good look, ladies. Super embarrassing then, and still really embarrassing posting about it now. Half of y'all are thinking, really, Taylor? I'm an all-natural kind of gal, so I started down the path of supplements and quickly realized they're not all created equal or honestly with much integrity at all. When I found what worked, I stuck with it and haven't strayed from it since. They've also helped me feel my best through pregnancies, lose baby weight quickly, balance blood sugar, and create an incredible milk supply. Have the energy to keep up with my hyper kids and find purpose outside of motherhood. I hit the jackpot. Okay, so I'll stop the share, and Megan, I'll send you back post. And hopefully we have not disturbed the recording. So I just wanted to pass that along to y'all because it can be a little tricky to figure out what exactly is this transformational posting and how do I use it as a launching pad for authentic conversations. So I wanted to show you those 2 examples. Gina is going to share a little bit, and then she's actually going to finish us out with some really great action challenges. So take it away.
Here we go. Finding that mute button is always a doozy. So I was just, Tara had brought up doing the 20 messages a day, and it has been on my mind. And when we did it consistently last year, felt like I couldn't get over that 14 or 17. That was my sweet spot every day. And I was like, oh, come on, this isn't that hard. But I've been like really forcing myself to push. So, T, I'm right there with you. A couple of challenges that I guess I wanted to leave us with tonight were things that I'm really pushing for our team to do and that have really helped me. And I'm sure so many of us, but friendly reminders, to kind of get back to basics. So, reach out to 10 people. Don't have to do 20, reach out to 10 people. And if you haven't done it today, do it before bed. It could take you 5 minutes. You could make it take you 3 hours. Don't overthink it. It does not have to be intense plexus conversation, vomiting. Like it's just as simple as checking in with people, being present. So my challenge tonight is 10 reach outs. Okay. Whether it's the green lights you see people are on, hop on, or the next 10 people in your news feed. Because what I tend to find is the green lights tend to be all y'all, all the people I follow, because I'm like, oh, come on, keep scrolling, keep scrolling. So if I do the next 10 people and I tell myself, it's do or die, baby. It doesn't matter how big they are. I got to do it and I have to stick with it. So I challenge you. That's number one. 10 cold call reach outs. Do it. Don't overthink it. If you want to grow your business and you want to help people, this is where it's at. The other thing is, if you haven't done it yet, pencil down your dream team. There's two different ways, right? There's either people that would have miraculous changes and benefit. There's a dream team. I see it, Carissa. But people that will have huge healing and that plexus could bless. Or there's other people that you see have an incredible social audience, that they've got a big presence, that it is okay to say, I want you on my team. I want to grow with you. I want to partner with you. And those are my funnest reach outs, because there's nothing more flattering for me than someone saying, hey, Gina, I see in you. Like, we all want a pat on the back. And so I've been putting bugs in people's ears. Like, the voice messages are my jam. I ain't got time to sit and type. And so usually I'm talking to the kids, I'm yelling at someone, I'm doing 10 other things. I've got work calls going in the background, but it is honest. So don't overthink it. The setting doesn't have to be perfect. Be human. You can stumble over your words, and it will come out more natural than you think. So pencil down your dream team. And I challenge you to go bigger. So it's easy to say, one or two people. Let's say 10 people. Put 10 people down, make 10 reach outs tonight, and be consistent. 10 reach outs a day. I challenge you. Do it at least until next week, and you will see how quick it becomes a habit. And then my last challenge, put a date on the books for Sip and See. Another thing we overthink. You're waiting for the perfect time. You're waiting for the perfect amount of people to invite. It's never going to happen. And the time is just going to continue to pass you by. And our Sip and Sees have been wellness workshops, because I switched it up since Super Saturday, have been really so instrumental in my own growth. I relied on Ashley. She's not even like technically my sponsor. She's Tara's above me, but Tara's out of state. So Ashley was showing up for all my Sip and Sees. And then I had to put my big girl pants on because I had people under me, and it was like, okay, it's time, we're going to do this. And it's helped me grow. And I thrive in just an honest couple hours of just hanging out and talking. And you don't have to know everything. People don't even know what to ask you. So don't overthink it. And if no one shows up, be proud of yourself that you did it, and it'll make it easier the next time that you do it. And if one person shows up and they don't sign up, high five yourself that you got one person there. It is so, so worth it. And it is just like the growth that comes and the confidence building in yourself that you could stand in front of people and talk. It's so worth it. So those are my 3 things. Cold call, whatever, 10 reach outs, do it. 100% sign up rate. Do it and be consistent. 10 reach outs a day. Don't overthink it. Pencil down your dream team and put a date on the books for a Sip and See. And if anybody lives in the Chicagoland area, I'll come. I'll help you. If you're nervous, I'll help you. I like to talk.
Woohoo!
There you go.
Woohoo! I cannot amen enough. And I know we're over 25 minutes, but I have one more quickie story I wanted to share. My sweet brother is a fundraiser for a living for Cedar Rock Ministries. And so he gets it. Like, he knows what this is like for us, right? About having belief in what you do enough to ask people to invest in it. And what he shared with me yesterday, it struck me so much, because I want to say to y'all, don't ever downplay or belittle any connection you're making, or any conversation you're starting, or any one person you get to come to your social wellness event. And what he shared with me was he connected with a girl who agreed to donate to Cedar Rock, and she wrote a $100 check at the end of the year at Christmas time. And he was like, well, okay, like, kind of going, okay, that was, not this huge big deal. But this week, a grandparent of hers who owns a foundation that donates every month to a different charity asked her granddaughter who she would like to donate the grandma's foundation money to that month. And she said, I'm going to choose Cedar Rock Ministries. And that was a $25,000 donation, all because of a connection that he had with somebody who, it was seemingly small. And so I want to pass that along to y'all to say, I cannot count the times that someone has said, oh, my mom's the only one who showed up to my sip and see. And then mom ends up losing 50 pounds and going off her insulin and telling everybody, right? You never know. So don't belittle, don't downplay the impact that you can make through one connection. So thank you all for being here, and thanks for sharing all your examples of what's working, and let's bust it out. We have tonight and tomorrow to plant a ton of seeds, and I am calling February No Fear February. So as we go into No Fear February, let's go into it with tons of seeds scattered and conversations to be cultivating. All righty. Bye, guys.